Well, welcome. This is August, and we are talking about professionalism. This is the 3-on-3, and GRAR offers this for the real estate community just to kind of get a barometer on what other realtors are thinking about different subjects. So, this subject, we're going to be talking about professionalism, and I have three of my colleagues here with me. And I thought it would be awesome to have each one of them introduce themselves, tell where they're from, which brokerage they're from, and what they love the most about real estate. Would you like to go ahead?
Sure. My name is Brenda Pratt. I'm with Keller Williams Grand Rapids North. I've been an agent in the greater Grand Rapids area for 8 years, 2 years prior in Minneapolis, St. Paul. And what I love about real estate and realtors in general in the Grand Rapids area is I feel like we're all in partnership together. Not only are you in business with your clients, but you're in business with other agents.
Mm-hmm. Amen.
Yep, absolutely. So my name is Laura Kelso. I'm an associate broker with Next Home Champions Real Estate. I've been in business just over 8 years. My specialty lies with working with older adults who are downsizing from a home that they've been in from a long time, often into a smaller home, condo, or community. And I just really love the ability to truly make a difference in people's lives and help them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, on such a personal level with such an important decision.
Absolutely. Very good.
My name is Rick Dawdy. I'm with Five Star Real Estate. Been in the business for 8 years. Probably my favorite thing about real estate is just helping people achieve their dreams through home ownership.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you guys all for being here today. Just got a few questions here that maybe we can talk through together. What do you think it means to be a professional, and what benefits exist from maintaining that reputation? And we don't have to go in any order, just whoever feels that they would like to answer that.
I'll start.
Okay.
So I really feel that professionalism starts with being knowledgeable.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that I think is very unique to our industry is that there's a fairly low threshold to do what we do.
Yeah.
Financially, time-wise, if you are somebody that is good at memorization and taking a test, theoretically you can take the real estate test and become an agent. But the things that we learn on that real estate test do not necessarily translate in how we serve clients on a day-to-day basis. And the things that, you can become an agent, and yet, boy, oh boy, there's so much to be learned on the job. And I think we owe it to ourselves and to our clients to really be knowledgeable about the things that our clients need us to know on a daily basis to serve them at the highest level. And I have a friend that is an elder law attorney, and he has a quote that says, "Don't confuse your Google search with my law degree." And I've really appreciated that in this, day and age of all the different home sites and things like that, where people can look up a variety of things on the internet. It does not mean that they don't need a realtor. They really, all the more, need somebody to guide them through the information that is out there and the number that Zillow says their home is, and really why that is or isn't true. I mean,
That's
I
so
think
true.
it's more important to have an expert.
So true. I always say anybody can sell a house. It's getting through that whole journey of title and inspections. And yeah,
Right?
yeah. That's where we really come in. So, anybody else want to answer that one?
I think one of the most important things about managing your reputation and being professional is honesty and integrity to your clients, not only to your clients, but also to other agents. And remember, like I said back, that we're all partners, we're all working together. At the end of the day, a transaction between a buyer and a seller should be good on both sides of the deal, remaining the goodwill of the sale.
Absolutely.
It's always what I try to do to manage, to keep my reputation, to keep my seller or buyer's reputation, and to keep the good energy of the sale at the foremost.
Absolutely. I would love to do a deal with you.
I would love that.
That's what I love too. I do too.
I've got a little bit more of a kind of a dictionary type definition, but I felt it suits our industry well. So conducting ourselves with responsibility, integrity, accountability, and excellence.
Absolutely.
If we keep those core points, every transaction should go relatively
Absolutely.
smooth or as smooth as it can.
I like to say that I never, ever, ever keep my mind on the commission. I always put it on service, because if you serve your client well, that's just going to come, as well as referrals.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Just touching back on the barriers of entry into our industry. I've got a good friend that's a realtor on the east side of the state, and his wife is a hairstylist. So we discussed the difference of barriers of entry of those two. So real estate, 40 hours, pass a test, you're a realtor. Hairstylist, 1,500 hours of practice before you can legally get a license to cut hair.
That's insane.
Yeah, I had no idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't either.
Yeah.
Wow, that is insane.
Yeah.
Well, and I don't know about you guys, but I didn't really learn a whole lot on the test part of it.
You learn it
It's
every
when you
deal.
get in
Right.
the industry and you get thrown into deals, that's where you really learn.
Yeah.
Right?
I was thinking about that in the last day as well, how even after, 8 years into this business, many, many deals, I still learn something new
Same
on
here.
virtually every
Every one.
single deal, where I just want to file that back and go, okay, don't make that mistake again,
Exactly.
or, something to be said or something not to say. We're just constantly learning.
Yeah, for sure. And I have learner in my DNA, so I think that's why I love this profession so much.
Yeah.
So we all know that sometimes realtors are given a different, probably not the best rap in the public. Okay? So what would your suggestion be to challenge the public opinion about what they think of realtors or salesmen?
I think you can be a salesman without really selling something. To me, it's that idea of giving value always,
Right.
regardless of whether there is a sale tied to it. So when you can develop relationships with clients, with other agents that are collaborative, that you're constantly being willing to help regardless of there being a commission attached to that, that to me is when we start to change that perception of, as an industry, someone who gets paid a lot for doing very little. Because unfortunately, the public doesn't see the 200 hours that we put in with the client who never bought something,
Right.
or the home never sold. They only tend to see the ones that, had 27 offers in the first week that we perceivably did nothing for, and
Right.
yet, all of the education that it took us to get there. And we also know that the market at some point will change,
Yeah.
and that will not be the case.
For sure. Always changing.
I just think you have to educate your clients one at a time, and we all have to be out there always striving for excellence, over communicating all the time on what you're doing, on what the plan is, on what the feedback is, following up, being professional with other agents, providing feedback,
Right.
honoring showings, even though you have an offer at hand, communication all the
Yes.
time. That's really the only way we're going to get past the perception of doing nothing, because when some people don't do anything, it affects everybody.
Correct. Yes. Very true. Very true. You have anything to add?
I just think education and communication are probably the biggest things. If you can educate your clients on what comes next before it happens, I think it makes everything easier. If you can communicate, like you said, over communicate, I think that always helps. Limit surprises. If there is bad news, communicate that bad news right away rather than wait or have someone else let them know what may have happened.
Yeah.
Well, and I'm sure, does everybody have children? Okay, so something I taught my kids all the time is your behavior is caught, not taught. And if we want our public to see us as professionals, it's when we go through those really difficult transactions where deals fall apart, or maybe where another realtor hasn't been that professional with you. How you respond and what your response is navigating through those difficult times, that's what's going to teach, in my opinion, our public that we are professionals and we are not going to be this emotional wreck that's going to badmouth other realtors or let something that falls apart interrupt our service to our clients. So I think that we can tell our clients anything that we want them to hear, but they're going to believe how we behave,
Exactly.
right?
Well, and just building on what Brenda said of giving the client, information on what to expect throughout the transaction. That's one thing that when I'm first meeting with clients, I really try and emphasize that fact that there are so many things that we can control in this industry, and then there's a whole lot that we have zero control over.
So true.
And some things are going to likely happen throughout the transaction that are going to be challenging in one way or another. And I've
Right.
certainly made it through a lot of really, really challenging deals with big issues that came up, partially because I had a great agent on the other side
Amen.
who was willing to help work through whatever
So
that
true.
was.
So
And
true.
as opposed to how easy it is to have a deal fall through if you've got an agent on the other side that, doesn't have that same attitude and ability to over communicate, because I think that it is crucial to be able to, just work through the issues that are inevitably going to come up.
Absolutely. So true. Anybody have anything else to add to that? Another question that they've given us to answer is, how do we determine an adequate amount of aggressiveness?
Yeah, I didn't like that question.
I didn't
I laughed at that
either.
question.
Because you can't be aggressive and have a buyer and a seller. Is that what we're talking about? Or are we talking about what aggression?
Well, the way I took it was we have to work in our client's best interest, right? And
Right.
so sometimes we do have to be the one to suggest a solution that maybe the other side isn't going to love. And so that type of an aggression is okay. But
That's assertiveness.
Yeah,
in my
yeah,
opinion.
right.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
yes.
you can be assertive on
Yes.
behalf of your client, and
Yeah.
this is what my client wants. But yeah, I didn't really like the aggressive thing anyway, because
Yeah.
I mean, we've all dealt with aggressive agents, right? We all have.
Oh yeah.
And I always just go back to, like, you can't have a good transaction unless the buyer and the seller both leave the table feeling happy,
Exactly.
feeling like they got something. Buyer
Yeah.
wins, seller wins, everyone wins. We shake hands. If it
Right.
doesn't end that way, the whole process is going to be hell for everyone, and the energy of the sale is going to be crushed.
Agreed.
So I think it's fine to be assertive for a buyer or a seller, and I think any good agent would also understand that, and they're going to do the same, and then you meet in the middle.
Yeah.
Right.
So I think we should change aggressive to assertive.
I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I thought about that in terms of, hard work, yes. Being able to be very knowledgeable on how to write a competitive offer in this
Yes.
industry,
Yes.
right on.
Yep.
But there's no spot for truly being aggressive. That makes it sound like we're, going to be mud wrestling between,
Well,
parts of the transaction. And it's really that idea, just like Brenda said, of being collaborative, because I will even, when I'm meeting with clients initially, kind of let them know that, hey, if you're looking for somebody who's going to have that attitude of beating out the other side,
Yes.
that's not me.
Yes.
That's not, and
Same here.
honestly, my hope in this industry is to get to a point where I can honestly tell a client like that, you know what, I'm probably not the right agent for you. There might
Exactly.
be somebody, but that is not how I work. And partially the success that I've seen in this industry is by building other relationships in this industry where you can, see another name on the other side of a transaction and know immediately before you make the offer that if my offer is accepted, that this transaction will go smoothly because that agent's excellent.
Yes.
And
Agreed.
getting that reputation as an agent also of being somebody that's easy to work through and who will do whatever it takes to work through whatever comes up in that transaction to the benefit of all parties.
And I think we've all been on the listing side where we've received an offer from a aggressive agent, and you're instantly like, ugh, if this is how they're presenting their client's offer, how are they going to be during inspections? Or how are they going to be, if we have a low appraisal? Or how are they going to be even scheduling closing? Like,
Yeah.
it's just an instant turnoff as an agent.
Absolutely. It makes you, obviously, we're always going to do what is best for the client, but part of what is best for the client is knowing that we can, as you said, get to the end of the transaction. Our job is not just to sell a house or buy a house, it's to get both parties, all parties, to that closing table, basically unscathed, where they're not going to 10 years from now tell someone else what a horrible experience they had in buying or selling their last house and why they no longer want to work with realtors. We want to leave them with that idea of, wow, this was easier and better than I could have anticipated because of, how my agents worked through it.
Exactly. And then speaking to the end of the transaction, I always taught my kids that got to look at the long game.
Yep.
What's the long game? And even go beyond that transaction. You may decide to be a bully during this one transaction, but it's going to bite you in the future if somebody sees your name come across their desk again.
Yeah.
And you may win the battle, but in my opinion, you've lost the war because this is a long game and we're going to be working with other agents all the time. Yeah. So, what area of professionalism would you love to see improved?
Communication,
Communication,
feedback. When
feedback.
you're having a listing, it is very helpful for the listing agent to be able to provide prompt feedback to their clients. And I don't mean 2 days after the showing, I mean 24 hours.
Right.
I think it's respectful. And I think when you do your feedback promptly, other agents remember it. And then when you're on the other side of it, I think it's beneficial.
Yes.
I think you should not have a voicemail that says full. I think that's terrible. I'm educating my young adults that is just no. There are some people.
Or voicemail that's not set up yet.
Yeah, what is that? What is that even?
Yeah, I don't know. Like,
I mean, I'm not trying to
Wait, is
date
this a
myself.
realtor?
Yeah.
But there are people that are still driving around showing houses, and a voice text sometimes does not translate well, and you just need to leave a quick voicemail.
Yeah.
So I think it's important.
Yeah.
And I also think that you should pick up your phone.
And not email someone back at bubblegumgirl1987@gmail.com.
Thank you. Yeah. And those.
Yeah, and I would piggyback on that to say with feedback, the more specific it is, the more helpful it is. Not just, oh, this isn't the right house for me.
Yeah.
It really is helpful when we can let our sellers know, gosh, they really don't like the fact that it's only 2-bedroom or that this particular area of the house is not updated. Because there's a good chance that these are things that we discussed with our seller beforehand that they may or may not have agreed with us on. And we can get consistent feedback that says, no, this is why I wanted to price it the way that I wanted to price it.
Right.
The feedback that just says, they didn't really like it.
Right.
Is simply not very helpful.
Right.
And then along with that, I don't feel there's any place in this industry for listings that look really bad or pictures taken on your phone.
With your picture in the mirror.
With your picture in the mirror, with the toilet seat up, with underwear laying on the floor. I think that tends to definitely show unprofessionalism and obviously is not to the best interests of the client.
Yeah.
And if you're going to be in this industry, spring for professional pictures. Yes. I don't care if it's your mom taking them. They better look good, and that shouldn't be on an iPhone.
Right. Agreed.
I think the biggest issue we run into with professionalism is usually with showings. Either buyer's agents not locking a door or shutting a window or letting their buyers move ceiling tiles around or, open up closets and look into attics.
Insulation on the floor.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's been so many things, on the Facebook post, and I just shake my head every time, like how. So I'd like to see maybe a standard where new agents have to go through maybe 3 to 5 houses with a broker or with an experienced agent, just to say like, hey, when you're showing a house, let's have a checklist, make sure this is done or this is done. Even how to open up a lockbox.
It's a really good idea.
Yeah, like back in the super days when that wouldn't open and it would beep really loud, like buyers are like, what's going on? This guy doesn't know what he's doing. Just like things like that. And I think either, maybe GRAR institutes it part of the orientation, or broker has to sign off on 3 to 5 showings. And then I also think buyer consultations are big before you show the first house with a buyer. So like, hey, buyer, you can't bring your dog into this house or any house. No, it's not okay for you to bring, 16 people with you through the house, or even etiquette on, using the bathroom.
Right,
Just
and kids.
Right.
I mean, how many times as an agent are you like, you need to hold your kids' hands, or how about you look around and I'll stay here with the kids?
Yep.
I mean, it's just like, so.
Just basic
educating.
etiquette, yeah. And that, anytime an incident like that does happen, it makes us all look bad.
It really does. And, most people have it on video anyway. And let's face it, most buyers are watching you show their house.
Right.
And I always, as my clients get out of the car, I'm like, just so you know, there are cameras. Please refrain from speaking.
Yeah.
As we go through the showing, please remove your shoes, because they are watching.
Yep.
Maybe they're not meant to, but they are.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes as buyers agents, we don't want to have that conversation with our buyers because it's not comfortable, but we have to do it. Like, you have to take your shoes off. You have to put these booties on. Like, that's the request of the seller. You're walking through their house. Like, have some respect for
And I
them.
think it does help. Like, for me, it always helps to say, hey, there are cameras and they are watching. And
Yes.
people are like, whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
And
need
they're
to
a
say
lot
that
more
more.
cautious.
Yeah.
Well, and I think along with that idea of having these, somewhat sometimes uncomfortable conversations with our clients is going through the paperwork and going through the documentation that they are signing to the degree that they understand it. Because I think that, even a purchase agreement and the expectations for what the house needs to look like when you take possession, I think things like that are often ignored. No buyer wants to take possession with 10-year-old paint cans that are half filled. That, I make it very clear to every seller, this is the purchase agreement that we're signing. These are the expectations that we are agreeing to. And the same thing when you're working with a buyer. I've talked with buyers that have no idea if they are under agency with another agent.
All the
I mean,
time.
how crazy is that,
Yeah.
that they do not understand the concept of agency and that they may be obligated to another agent. I think that, that alone is critically important. We are signing and having people sign documents that are truly, life-changing type contracts. They need to understand what they're signing, and we need to understand
Yeah.
to be able to explain it to our clients. And if we don't, there needs to be more education on that.
On the flip side, too, asking that question, are you working with another realtor? That's a big one, too. And then going back to the feedback part of it, something I think that's really important to remember is that a lot of times those feedbacks are going to the sellers, whether it's automatically or whether you snapshot it. So whatever you say, they are going to see what you have said. And I love constructive criticism, but there's been a few that I've gotten that have been downright mean.
Right.
And just not cool. It's just not cool. This is somebody's home, whether they are not a tidy housekeeper or not, it's somebody's home. So, yeah. So going back on the last question, which we answered, what area of professionalism would you like to see improved? Are there any other ideas of how you propose we do that?
I loved what he said about the class, like making sure like
I
every
do
new
too.
agent has to at least go and shadow 3 showings,
Yes.
2 open houses, whatever that is.
Yes.
I mean, and I feel like we could do that even on when they're here, right?
Yes.
Right.
Getting their super iBox. It could even be something following you around as a video. When I walk in the door, the key goes here.
Yes.
And like have it almost role modeled,
Yes.
or like a video. Like if we couldn't get everyone to go through it, and we know there's some agents that do one deal and some that do 50 and
Yeah.
anything in between, but it would be something like a good baseline on how to show a home, what to prep your people for inspections, when to show up on inspections, all the things that you go through time and time again, but
Yeah.
maybe newer agents wouldn't know.
Right, exactly. I know with my brokerage that I'm with, they have to have a mentor for their first 3 deals. And I think that's so important because I remember my first deals and it was almost like this, like the blind not knowing where to go. And thank goodness I had awesome mentors that I was able to turn to ask for that. But again, going back to having some training, I think that would be huge and it would help our industry for sure.
Absolutely. And I kind of think that honestly, some of the agents that have joined in recent years where it's been a little easier to sell a house will probably organically fall off as the market gets a little bit harder, and that those of us who, are more collaborative, are more professional, are going to end up succeeding as we see things change over time.
Absolutely. Any closing thoughts?
Just that it's our duty for all of us to elevate this industry so that to the benefit of everyone.
Absolutely. And you're only as good as your last deal. And if your last deal was not good and buyer and seller didn't leave happy, then that energy will transfer to the next and the next and the next.
Absolutely. So as we're out there working our deals and we are working with each other and we're working with our clients, one of the things that I am just going to encourage all of us is that when we're out there doing our job and working our career, you're representing the name Realtor. And it's all of us. So just an encouraging word is let's give that name Realtor a different feel, a different flair. And when people hear it, they're like, oh, there's great value in a Realtor instead of what we've heard in the past. So, and I know we can all do it.
We can. And I always think of, when I think of Realtor, I think of, oh my gosh, those are my kind of people, right? Those are the people out there working and hustling and communicating with honesty and integrity. Honestly, that's how I feel. Yes. They are my people.
Right.
Well, and as I'm working with my clients and I ask that question, are you working with another Realtor? Because I always ask that. I follow up with saying there are so many talented Realtors in West Michigan, and there really are. So kudos to so many of us that are elevating this industry. Thank you for tuning in to this 3 on 3 today, and we wish you a great August.